I was told about his address today on the radio, and I looked it up, and I was not just impressed by the message, it's a good, solid message, but the context, the contrast to who and what he's dealing with right now. And it is the root of the president's problem. He can't be believed on the topic, Don. So every question becomes reasonable.
That's my question to you. So if every time you speak with me and you ask me something and I give you a different answer for the same thing, how do you feel about what comes out of my mouth?
Well, often when you make these suppositions, it's hard for me to answer on television because it does mimic our personal relationship. So, you know, it's weird, Trump, you, it's kind of the same thing in my life. Now, look, the problem is obvious, and that's what is so vexing about all of it. The president never tells the truth on this issue. So how are we to believe him? What happens, God forbid, when he has to address the American people and say, here's what's happening, here's what we need to do, and why, and I've gotten information from fill in the blank of the institution that he's probably bashed in the past. That could be a moment of crisis for us, and certainly it's a moment of personal crisis for him now, Don. These are real questions. Even the are you a Manchurian candidate? It's an absurd question, except when I can't believe you about anything and you keep sheltering Russia, this is what you get.
Okay, so when asked the question, I'm going to go back to what we were talking about. When asked the question, have you ever worked for the Russian government? Very simple answer would be no, never. Instead of, oh, I'm so insulted by this, oh my gosh.
I don't think he ducked the question.
Okay, I do think, because it's a very simple answer. No. And you can go on with it's absurd. Now let's go back to the other thing.
She asked it as a joke.
Okay, yeah, I get it.
Janine Pirro.
Of course.
She was like, Mr. President, you know, she was joking when she asked it, so he answered as a joke.
You just answered everything. You just summed up the whole thing with what you just said. A joke. So listen, I'm not saying let's just say that you don't believe that the president lies. If you believe that he's a truth teller, and then you go back over his statements, and the answer, and I'm talking about beyond Russia, the answer to the same question, the answers to the same question are different every single time, and often they negate each other. Why would you ever believe anything that comes out of his mouth, even if you are a diehard Trump supporter? Why would you believe someone who some people believe is a liar, maybe you don't, but he never answers consistently on the same thing, and sometimes it's the exact opposite?
Right.
Why?
You can't. So what you must do is run away from that as the test. And what you must run toward is what we see. The probe is screwed up. They were out to get him. They put him in a box, Don. He had to lie. He had to dodge. They were trying to get him, Don. That's why he did it, because this is all bogus.
Dissonance.
Absolutely.
That's what it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you can't be wrong. No one wants to be proven wrong. People hate that, so they come up with every single excuse in the book to condone their own behavior, to make what they think, their thinking, I should say, not their behavior, to make what they think is right in their head. They have to write. It's like, oh my gosh, well, that was wrong. He lied about that. Well, how do I fix it? How do I fix it? What excuse can I give so that I can't be wrong on that decision? That's a problem.
100%. And look, my concern is that as you know, I do not see the culmination of this being something that is inherently ruinous to the president. I don't see a legal process that winds up ending this presidency.
But you said something very smart earlier. You said that when is that the test for a president, that he's done something wrong, that it has to be
it should be never, that it's a crime. It should never be.
Right.
The integrity question, integrity is like a high-minded word for some people, not for me. His inability to tell the truth is going to come back to haunt him, because I believe no matter which way it goes in the report, the American people and their elected officials in both parties are going to have to stare down the reality that their president lied to them about a ton of things that matter, and he did it for bad reason. What they do about it, we'll all see. But the lying has always mattered. People lost faith in that. You know, they still have no faith in it. Oh, it won't matter. Truth doesn't matter anymore. Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. You said it. You said it nicer than I would, as we would say if we were out. The president lies about a lot of you-know-what all the time, and it's also this whole Russia thing. What's true and what's not. It can be complicated for a lot of people, but you know what I'm going to do right now? Break it down. You did earlier, but I'm going to break it down in the timeline so you could see exactly for yourself. So if you're sitting there and you're the most ardent Trump supporter or you're the most, or if you can't stand him, I want you to listen to the open of this show, and we're going to lay it out for you. Then you can make up your mind, because there's no other way. You just to think about all the coincidences and all the things that he said were not true. I got to go.
You're so good, Don
I'll see you
Levin.
tomorrow.
Even my dogs watch you on TV.
I know, because dogs are smarter than a lot of humans, including the one I'm.
There
right
it
on
is.
the
Let's
screen.
go. Time for the show.
See
you later.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. This is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon. Can you ever imagine any other president of the United States saying this? Watch.
I never worked for Russia, and you know that answer better than anybody. I never worked for Russia.
Well, guess what? It wouldn't even be a question for any other president. But this president is forced to tell reporters, I never worked for Russia, to say it twice. And the reasons for the questions are stunning. We have learned President Trump actually took away his interpreter's notes after a July 2017 meeting with Vladimir Putin in Hamburg, and warned the interpreter not to discuss the meeting with anybody in the administration. Not anybody outside, but in the administration. Why would you do that if you weren't trying to hide something, right? And as shocking as that is, it comes as more transcripts, these from closed-door congressional interviews, reveal details of how a half-dozen senior FBI officials opened an investigation into whether this president was following the directions of Russia in the aftermath of firing the FBI Director James Comey. And there's more. Sources are telling CNN that over the last few weeks, the Trump legal team has refused a request from Robert Mueller for an interview in person, an in-person interview. One source saying that Mueller is, quote, not satisfied with that. I'll bet. Things sure have changed since the president said that he was looking forward to talking to Robert Mueller.
Would you be willing to speak under oath to give your version of those events?
100%.
Are you going to talk to Mueller?
I'm looking forward to it, actually.
To reach a higher standard, you would do it under oath.
Oh, I would do it under oath.
Mr. President, would you still like to testify to Special Counsel Robert Mueller, sir?
Thank you.
You would like to?
I would like to.
I would love to speak, because we've done nothing wrong. I would love to speak. I would love to go. Nothing I want to do more. I would love to speak. I would love to. Nobody wants to speak more than me. In fact, against my lawyers, because most lawyers, they never speak on anything.
Are you more likely to sit for an interview now?
My lawyers are working on that. I've always wanted to do an interview because, look, there's been no collusion.
Now, not so much. President Trump doesn't want to talk about Mueller, and it seems he doesn't want the American people to know what he said to Vladimir Putin. Why does the President of the United States defer to Putin, an enemy of this country, over and over and over and over again? He's been doing it since the early days of the campaign, you know.
Putin is a nicer person than I am.
I think Putin's been a very strong leader for Russia.
A very smart cookie, much smarter, much more cunning than our president. Wouldn't it be nice if we actually got along, as an example, with Russia? I'm all for it.
If he says great things about me, I'm going to say great things about him. I've already said he is really very much of a leader.
Putin's a killer.
A lot of killers. We got a lot of killers. Why, you think our country's so innocent?
Putin is the leader of Russia. Russia's a strong country.
Donald Trump is a friend of Putin. Well, actually, Putin did call me a genius, and he said I'm the future of the Republican Party.
Putin's fine. He's fine. We're all fine. We're people.
Would you say Vladimir Putin is a friend or a foe? I really can't say right now. As far as I'm concerned, a competitor. It's a competitor.
Why does the president take actions that seem to be in Russia's best interest rather than our own? Honestly, we don't know. But what we do know, the facts, the things we've all seen and heard, they raise extremely serious questions. Okay, so here we go. Here's just some of it. Are you listening? Donald Trump hired Paul Manafort for his campaign in March of 2016. Manafort went on to be named the campaign chairman. And we have since learned that Robert Mueller believes that Manafort shared polling data and discussed Russian-Ukrainian policy with a Russian intelligence-linked associate while he led the Trump presidential campaign. Manafort has pleaded guilty to witness tampering and has been convicted of several lobbying-related financial crimes. Okay? That's Manafort. And then there is Michael Flynn. Here he is seated next to Vladimir Putin at a dinner in Moscow in December of 2015. He joined the campaign just weeks later and went on to be named the administration's national security advisor. He resigned after he was caught lying to the FBI about his Russia contacts, pleading guilty in December of 2017 and agreeing to cooperate with Mueller. And remember that infamous Trump Tower meeting with Russians in June of 2016, promising dirt on Hillary Clinton? The one where Donald Trump Jr. told the Russian middleman, quote, "If it's what you say, I love it." The New York Times first asked the White House about that meeting on July 7th of 2017. And I have to give a hat tip to Andrew S. Weiss, who oversees research on Russia for the Carnegie Endowment for this timeline. Hat tip to him. It turns out that is the same day that Trump and Putin met in Hamburg, the day Trump seized his interpreter's notes. On the way back to Washington the next day, the president dictated that misleading statement claiming that the Trump Tower meeting was all about adoptions. And then there's what Donald Trump said himself, out loud, in public. Remember this? This is from July 27th of 2016, daring Russia to hack Hillary Clinton's emails.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
Well, we later learned that the Russians did exactly that. And they did it on the very same day. That revelation coming from Robert Mueller's indictment charging 12 Russians with election hacking. And of course, there's the president's stunning explanation, in his own words, on national television for why he hired his FBI director, James Comey, fired him in May of 2017.
When I decided to just do it, I said to myself, I said, you know, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story. It's an excuse by the Democrats for having lost an election that they should have won.
Just one day earlier, the president bragged about firing Comey to Russia's foreign minister and ambassador right in the Oval Office. Then there is another stunning moment. Remember this? Helsinki, July 2018. President Trump stood next to Vladimir Putin and said he didn't see any reason Russia would interfere in our election, taking the Russian president's word over his own intelligence chiefs.
My people came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this. I don't see any reason why it would be.
The U.S. intelligence community concluded unanimously that the Russians actively interfered in our election, that they attacked us to help Donald Trump and to hurt Hillary Clinton. And Vladimir Putin seems to agree with that conclusion.
Did you direct any of your officials to help him do that?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Because he talked about bringing the U.S.-Russia relationship back to normal.
And then there's the president's former fixer and keeper of secrets, Michael Cohen. In his guilty plea to Robert Mueller in November of last year, he said negotiations to build a Trump Tower in Moscow continued well into the 2016 presidential campaign. That means then candidate Trump was trying to do business with Russia in the middle of a campaign that Russia interfered in to help elect him. And on and on. So those are the facts, just the facts that I've given you there. But the big question is, right? The question we all really need to answer, why? Why does this president seem to defer to Vladimir Putin? Why would he go to extraordinary lengths to keep his conversations with Putin a secret? And taken all together, what do President Trump's statements and actions on Russia really mean? The answer to all of that could be monumental for the president and for this country. Lots to discuss. Jim Sciutto, Asha Rangappa, Max Boot. We'll dig into it next.
What makes this simple salad the best simple salad ever? Great tasting, heart-healthy California walnuts. So simple, so good. Get the recipes at walnuts.org.
If you live with diabetes, why fingerstick when you can scan? With the Freestyle Libre 14-day system, just scan the sensor with your reader or iPhone and manage your diabetes. With the Freestyle Libre 14-day system, a continuous glucose monitor, you can check your glucose levels anytime without fingersticks. Ask your doctor to write a prescription for the new Freestyle Libre 14-day system. You can do it without fingersticks. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
What we deliver by delivering.
Hiring? It's a big deal. Finding the right candidates can take up lots of your time and energy. But not on Indeed. Millions of great people are using Indeed every single day. People with every possible combination of skill and experience. And with filters to help you find them faster, whatever type of candidates you're looking for, you'll find them on Indeed. Accelerate your hiring even more with a $50 credit to start your first job post with premium placement on Indeed.
Tina, you're so right. Tina, you're a genius. I know. Tina? All right, talk to you later. Bye, girl. Hi, sorry.
Are these stools new?
Yeah, I just got them.
What about the vanity?
Were you upstairs?
No. Who's Tina? Your new best friend? Your shopping pal?
Stacy? It's Wayfair.
Oh!
She doesn't have a new BFF. She's got Wayfair.
Tina?
This should cover your best room.
We don't accept pianos, ma'am.
Are you serious?
Just sell it on Let Go and turn it into money.
Well, that was easy.
You're the best, Ma. Let's hit the pool.
Live and let go.
We really love the holidays at Graham Grams, but it's tough to...
Relax.
The Dish guy heard us. Said with the Dish Anywhere app, we could bring the comfort of our home TV along with us. Live TV, on demand, even our DVR shows.
Feel good shows.
That put us right at ease. Mostly.
So many eyes.
Take live TV, on demand, and your home DVR anywhere. Dish, tuned into you.
Before I was diagnosed by my doctor, I didn't know why my body was moving on its own. My eyes blinked way too much. It turns out I have tardive dyskinesia, a condition that may be related to important medications I take for my bipolar disorder. My fingers moved like they were playing a piano that wasn't there. Tardive dyskinesia can affect different parts of the body. It may also affect people who take medication for depression and schizophrenia. It's a relief to know that today, TD is manageable. Learn more at talkabouttd.com.
So tonight we're learning that President Trump's legal team has turned down a request by special counsel Robert Mueller for an in-person interview with the president. Let's discuss now with CNN's Jim Sciutto, also Asha Rangappa and Max Booth, the author of Corrosion of Conservatism, Why I Left the Right. Thank you all. A special shout out to Jim Sciutto. Jim, I know you work the early shift, so we appreciate having you on late this evening.
I always do it for you and for Asha and for Max as well.
Asha, let's start with you. These new details tonight about the president, President Trump's lawyers rebuffing Mueller's request in recent weeks for an in-person interview. Does this mean a subpoena could still be on the table?
I feel like it's Groundhog Day. I mean, I think we were having this discussion at this time last year. You know, I think it's closer to the subpoena possibility. You know, Mueller has kind of indulged the president. That also gave Mueller time to pursue the other threads of his investigation because it kind of gave Trump's legal team something to chew on and feel like they had control over. But now, you know, he's gotten things in writing, which is already not great for President Trump, given things that have transpired since then. Mm-hmm. He also has Democrats in control of the House, which means that he knows that to some extent his findings will make the light of day. I think that he can be confident in that. What will happen with a court battle remains to be seen, but I think that the president is on shaky ground.
Yeah, and he's locked in to those answers, right, because they're written answers. Jim, one source is telling CNN that, quote, Mueller is, and this is a quote, not satisfied. What does this new reporting from our colleagues Pamela Brown and Evan Perez mean for Mueller's final report?
Well, it's interesting because short of a successful subpoena battle, it means it's possible that the final report is issued without the special counsel having the opportunity, in effect, to cross-examine the president, and that sets up the possibility that the president's response to this report will be, as it's been to this point, largely in the public sphere, in his comments from the bully pulpit of the White House, via Twitter, etc., where he can say anything he wants to about the investigation or about circumstances of meetings, the facts of the case, etc., without legal consequence. I mean, he could continue to do, as he's done on so many threads of this investigation, to mislead the American public, to state flat-out falsehoods, but without legal consequences. Now, Robert Mueller has been a busy man. He has certainly talked to other witnesses who have accounts, and I'm sure found ways to corroborate accounts that conflict with the president. But in the final analysis, again, short of a successful subpoena battle, this will ultimately be, I suppose, as it was always likely to be, a political question. Does Congress take this report, and does a majority both of Democrats and Republicans, and decide that these are offenses that cannot, they cannot tolerate? That's most likely what the bottom line is going to be here.
Max, I got to ask you, I know one of your articles, was this the one that was the most shared over the weekend? I read something, yes. I think I was like, this was one of the most read articles of the weekend. This is it. Yep. Because in the latest one from the Washington Post, you list 18 reasons why President Trump could be a Russian asset. So walk me through the most compelling examples and tell me, was Hillary Clinton right to call Trump puppet of Putin, a Putin puppet?
Well, the evidence certainly points that way, Don, and I think what makes it so compelling is not any individual data point, but the fact that there are so many of them, because you can dismiss individual data points and say that's just a coincidence or there's a benign explanation. It's harder to have a benign explanation for all of these, and I list them out, starting with the fact that Donald Trump had a long financial relationship with Russia. Both of his sons bragged about how much money they made from Russia. We now know that even during the 2016 campaign, he was pursuing a plan to build a Trump Tower in Moscow. And those kinds of financial entanglements potentially place them at the mercy of the Russian intelligence service and open them up to blackmail. And among other revelations are the ones we've had just in the last week or so, where we've seen Donald Trump repeating Russian talking points justifying the invasion of Afghanistan. We have seen Donald Trump pulling U.S. troops out of Syria, giving a giant geopolitical gift to Russia. And of course, this weekend, we had the blockbuster report in the Washington Post that Donald Trump tried to destroy the record of his conversations with Vladimir Putin and tried to hide from his own aides what he was discussing with the Russian president. Put it all together and you got to ask yourself, is there a benign explanation for this? And that increasingly looks unlikely.
Well, Asha, you're a former FBI agent. When you hear that President Trump confiscated the interpreter's notes from one of the meetings with Putin, there are so many questions here. Number one, where are those notes now, right? What was on the notes? Where are they now? Did President Trump destroy them, save them? What do you think?
I don't know what he did, but clearly he doesn't want the contents of that to be known. And, this is incredibly telling because talking to a head of state is one of the broadest powers that the president has. He could talk basically about anything that has to do with, policy, with foreign policy, with the United States, and he would even be able to, if he brought it back to his White House aides and staff and talk to them, have that covered by executive privilege. And he has a lot of diplomatic insularity from that being known. So for him to not want anyone, even from his own team, present, there's no legitimate secrecy need for him to do that. Yeah. And when you add in that this is a hostile foreign adversary who can then, use what is just even use their own take or their own spin on it to their own advantage that harms our national security, I don't see any plausible, legitimate reason for that to happen.
Well, Jim, let me talk to you about the reported response from Team Trump. Is that he was concerned in the meeting about it getting out, about leaks, and that having someone in there and having the notes out there, it might affect his relationship. Okay, that would be plausible if he did the same thing or similar things with every single leader who he met with, right?
which of course he doesn't. In fact, it's been very liberal, right down to using an unsecured phone for conversations with other foreign leaders. You know, Don, earlier today I asked a former very senior U.S. Intelligence official whether in his experience he had ever seen a U.S. official at any level, top level, mid-level, low level, that he was aware of who concealed the contents of a conversation with a Russian national, and he couldn't think of one. Now a president, as you and others have said, could have legitimate reasons for keeping a conversation like that private, but with the president here, that effort focused solely on conversations with the leader of this particular hostile foreign power. In the Hamburg meetings in 2017, in the Helsinki meeting in 2018, in which he was the only person in the room, the president, along with his translator. You know, intelligence is so much about looking at patterns of behavior. Mm-hmm. What explains this pattern of behavior when you line it up with the president's other positions and statements that are friendly to Russia and contrary to American interests? You know, no one should be under any, no one should forget that this is America's singular biggest, along with China, national security threat, and that is Russia. And the president has a particular way of dealing with Russia that is contrary to every other U.S. national security and intelligence official, the way they deal with this country, that at a minimum raises legitimate questions that the president hasn't answered.
Thanks to all of you. I appreciate your time. We've got news tonight on Congressman Steve King to tell you about. He has been stripped of his committee assignments over his latest racist comments. I'm going to talk with former Congresswoman Mia Love, who has been on the phone tonight with Republican members of Congress, and Steve King's Republican challenger in the 2020 primary, State Senator Randy Feenstra. There he is right there. He's going to join us as well. We'll be right back.
Operator, I'd like to make a collect call, please. First name Bob. Last name is We Oughta Baby Eats a Boy.
Hello?
Collect call for Mr. Bob. We Oughta Baby Eats a Boy.
Sorry, wrong number.
Who's that, dear?
Bob, they had a baby. It's a boy.
If you like saving money, call Geico. A 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Last name is We Oughta Baby Eats a Boy, 8 pounds, 3 ounces, mother's doing fine.
When did you see the sign?
When I needed to jumpstart sales. Build attendance for an event.
Help people find their way. Fast Signs designed new directional signage.
And got them back on track. Get started at fastsigns.com.
At Angie's List, we help you feel confident about hiring pros for home projects. You can check their ratings, read verified reviews, and easily request multiple quotes. Find all the pros you need to know at angieslist.com.
Need a change of scenery? Kayak searches hundreds of travel sites and filters by cabin class, Wi-Fi, and more, so you can be confident you're getting the right flight at the best price. Kayak. Search one and done.
From the founder of Discovery Channel comes a new independent streaming service, Curiosity Stream, home of groundbreaking documentaries and award-winning original series. Follow your curiosity. This is Curiosity Stream.
Hey man, could I get a pound of the flank, a pound of the ground sirloin, and a ribeye?
Yeah, I thought you were vegan.
Yeah, I'm paleo now. Oh. I'm flexible. And give me just some of that, surprise me.
Style is a window to where we've been. It tells a story. This is our story. This is what we're made of. American Style, Sunday at 9 on CNN.
I'm the father of a murdered child. I brought over 1,400 fugitives to justice. I'm John Walsh, and I'm not even close to finished. These fugitives are still out there. Watch my show, keep your eyes open, and join my fight. Let's catch these guys.
In Pursuit with John Walsh, all new series Wednesday at 10 on Investigation Discovery, Channel 285. Stream a sneak peek on ID Go.
How could you be so confident walking down the street? Because I had 30,000 people going, yeah!
I
I thought this was a nothing part, and then the script came, and I nearly had a heart attack.
The stories behind the movie that brought the world to its knees.
Timelessly popular.
Bruno Tonioli hosts Saturday Night Fever, the ultimate disco movie. Premieres Saturday on Reels, Channel 238.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Okay, so listen to this. Tonight, the House voted to remove Congressman Steve King from his committee assignments following his racist remarks. The Iowa Republicans' latest is that he's questioning why phrases like white supremacy and white nationalism are racist. Now I want to bring in the Republican who will be challenging Steve King in 2020 in the primary is Iowa State Senator Randy Feenstra. Randy, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us this evening. What is your reaction?
Good evening, Don. Great to be on with you tonight.
Absolutely. Give me your reaction to the congressman being stripped of his committee assignments tonight.
Yeah, it's very concerning. The 4th District in Iowa needs a strong voice and a positive voice. And what this does, we no longer have a seat at the table. And that's very concerning. We need somebody that can go to D.C. and be an effective leader. And right now, we do not have that.
Yeah, as you said, here's your quote that I read earlier. Sadly, today, the voters and conservative values of our district have lost their seat at the table because of Congressman King's caustic behavior. That's a pretty strong rebuke.
Well, it's true. You know, I mean, there's no place like that in our society to have that type of discussion. We're better than that. Iowans, Americans, we're better than that.
I want you to take a listen to what Republican Congressman Chris Stewart of Utah just said to my colleague Chris Cuomo. Watch this.
It's not the first time that he's said things that the party just cringes at and says, what in the world? Perhaps we could have addressed it in a more aggressive manner in the past, but I'm glad we're doing it now.
Should he be censured?
Well, I wish he'd resign, frankly. Like I said, he can't do the work. He's lost the trust and faith of his comrades. For the good of the party, for the good of the American people, I think it's time for us to make a change.
Do you hear from any Republicans in Congress or officials in Iowa who agree that King should resign, or are they supporting you?
Well, I think there's a lot of questions right now. I mean, there's a lot of concerns. I think the biggest thing that everybody has to understand is that there's an opportunity to now put somebody in Congress that is positive, refreshing, a new face, a very principled conservative, and that's why I'm running. I think it's time that Congressman King looks seriously in the mirror and decides whether he should step down or not. He's got to make a significant decision. But I'm here to make sure Iowans do have a voice and a seat at the table. And I'd love to have people contribute by going to FeenstraForCongress.com.
So listen, this would affect you. When Leader McCarthy was asked if King should resign, he said the voters of his district make those decisions. How would that happen other than your race in 2020, or is there some sort of a mechanism for recall?
Well, there is not a mechanism for a recall. I mean, again, he's got to decide what he wants to do. Does he want to step aside and allow somebody else to have the opportunity to have a new face in Congress? And I just look at it and hope he makes the right decision.
Do you believe that Congressman Steve King is racist or holds racist views?
I think that his actions and his comments, they speak for themselves. And each voter has to make that decision as we move forward.
But that's not an answer. I mean, honestly, I think that's a cop-out answer. Do you believe it or not? Because
okay, sure. I'll tell you this. I think that what he said was abhorrent, and there's no place for those type of comments in our society today. There's no place for that in our nation.
Why do you think he keeps getting reelected then?
Well, I think over the last 16 years, there was a difference in Congressman King than there was in the last several years. And that has changed, and that's what has really pushed me to get in the race and to run. After the last election, after some things that came out in the last election, I think everybody saw in the 4th District that maybe it's an opportunity to now have a fresh face, a new opportunity for a good fiscal conservative to run and take his place.
Am I correct? I'm being told that it's your 50th birthday?
It is today. Thank you. Yes.
Happy birthday. We're glad that you could take
I'm
the time.
spending it with you, Don.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. If I knew, I would have baked a cake.
If people can give me a 50th birthday present, contribute to PhoenixForCongress.com.
All right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your time. I want to bring in now senior political commentator Mia Love. She is a former Republican Congresswoman, and she joins us on the phone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We really appreciate it, Representative. What are you hearing from members of Congress about Steve King tonight?
Well, I've spoken to several Republican members of Congress, and I've asked them, I was like, do you feel like this decision was appropriate? Do you felt it like it was too harsh? And every single one that I've spoken to said that they felt like it was completely appropriate. That members are saying that this Representative Steve King does not represent the sentiments of the party, and they felt like too many comments that they needed to speak out, not just speak out, but literally strip him from all of his committees, Judiciary and Ag. They feel like he cannot represent the conference when it comes to voter rights and immigration, all of those things that will be coming up in Judiciary, that he cannot speak for the conference. So they just feel, everyone that I've spoken to has felt like this was absolutely appropriate and about time.
I got to ask you, because I got to be honest, he is in lockstep with this president in many ways on many issues. How is he different then? How do they differ from each other?
Well, I can't really get into the heads of both the president and Steve King, but I can tell you that one of the frustrations I had is I felt as if there were people that were there that were saying certain things that didn't represent my values, didn't represent my principles, and certainly weren't the reason why I put an R behind my name when I was a member of Congress. And so, these comments keep coming up. It's time for members of Congress to get up and say, this is not appropriate. This is not what we believe in. And if you let that slide, just like Tim Scott said in his op-ed, if you let those things slide, then you are associating yourself with that type of comment.
Well, I understood.
I'm always outspoken when, I've always been outspoken when the president has said something that I felt was inappropriate. And I felt, there are many times I felt like I was on my own there.
Yeah. Well, two things. One, I know that you said that Tim Scott's op-ed really resonated with a lot of people, and that may have changed some minds and got people to speak out, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. I think so.
So the other thing is, you were in the House, right? You were in Congress. What did people say about Congressman King behind closed doors? No one talked about this, because it's not like this just happened yesterday or last week. He said many things before.
I think that there are so many people that would cringe, that would just say, how is he getting elected? How does he continue to get elected? Obviously, if it were up to the conference and the conference were voting, if they were his constituents, there would be a different sentiment out there. I don't think he wouldn't be a member if it was left up to.
But why didn't people say anything then?
Well, I think that's the question I asked. But I think better late than never. I think the conference is at this point saying, look, this is way too much. We can't do this. I heard Congressman Stewart get on, who's a representative in my state. Get up and say too many times is too many. It's just too much. They can't do it anymore.
Yeah. So people did talk about it. The people of color who are in the Congress or in the Senate, did you guys talk about Steve King and his comments? Was that an active discussion? Did you openly, or at least I shouldn't say openly, did you confront people about it? That's what I mean. Did you go to them and say, hey, listen, this is offensive? Mia, you there?
Yes, I got
okay.
you. Yes,
yeah.
I just, you cut out for a little bit.
Did you talk to people about it and tell them how offensive these comments and his stances were or are?
Well, if you remember in my concession speech, there was a point where I said, the policies are good, but there's a sense sometimes that there are members that just don't take you home. And that's what I meant by that. It's that there's this sentiment that,
You said it was the relationship was transactional, right?
I'm sorry, say that again.
You said the relationship with voters of color many times was transactional.
Yes, I said it was transactional. I said people have to know that you care. And those comments doesn't send the message that you actually care about people of color, right? So I think that this is a perfect example of how we need to do a better job. And when I say we, I'm talking about the party needs to do a better job reaching to people in minority communities and letting them know that this is not transactional, that they actually care about people, that they're actually making decisions for that mean something to them and their families.
Mia Love, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate your candor, and I haven't had a chance to tell you, welcome to CNN. We're glad to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Don. Thank you.
Congressman Jim Hines, next.
And I hear it in the background. She's watching it too, saying, and this is where. Here we go. See you next week. Yes.
I've never seen that before.
You in my arms.
We'll find a way.
Have you seen the film that's on over 100 top 10 lists? Have you experienced the most honored performance of the year?
I know about suffering, and I know that it ends.
Don't miss the event that's being called a seismic cinematic achievement.
These are our children, and we gotta set them free.
If Beale Street could talk, for your consideration. Rated R.
Slinging gives you the flexibility to watch the live TV you love. Speaking of flexibility, try new positions, like the reverse armadillo. Foot stuff. The flirtatious kitten. That's my favorite. Only $25 a month. Watch Sing 7 days free.
I always wanted to speak French, but I never had the time. And then I tried Babbel.
Babbel, the quick way to get conversational in a new language. Babbel's award-winning interactive technology gets you speaking right away.
After just 4 weeks, I was feeling confident enough to have simple conversations in French. Their app uses a science-based space repetition method that really helps you retain what you learn. It works.
So, which language do you want to speak? Now, you can try Babbel free, the #1 selling language learning app in the world.
You're learning phrases that you can use right away in real-life conversations. And I was amazed at how fast it was, and now I'm speaking French. I always thought I was bad at languages, but after using Babbel, I can see I was just taught the wrong way.
Try Babbel free today. Go to Babbel.com or download the app and see why Babbel is the quick way to get conversational in a new language. Babbel. Which language do you want to speak?
What would it be like if you turned the corner one day and you saw yourself?
How could you not tell us?
Do you have $10,000 or more in debt? Struggling to keep up with credit card payments? There is a way out. Freedom Debt Relief. Their affordable program could help you save money and be debt-free in 24 to 48 months.
Since I started with Freedom Debt Relief, I'm saving money each month and I'm getting my debt paid down.
You could eliminate your debt with just one low monthly program payment that fits your budget.
Find out how quickly you could be debt-free. Call now, 1-800-319-9951.
Freedom Debt Relief has resolved over $10 billion in debt for hundreds of thousands of Americans. So before your debt gets any worse, give them a call.
Freedom saved me a lot of money. I am so grateful.
Their certified debt consultants are standing by, ready to help.
Call 1-800-319-9951 to start eliminating your debt now. That's 1-800-319-9951.
That you like my style. I know that you like my style.
President Trump went to extraordinary lengths to keep details of his conversations with Vladimir Putin under wraps. A former State Department official tells CNN that after a 2017 meeting in Hamburg, President Trump took his interpreter's notes, told him not to discuss the meeting with other administration officials. Why would you do that if you weren't trying to hide something. Joining me now is Democratic Congressman Jim Himes of Connecticut. Good to have you on, Congressman. Thank you so much. We're going to get to that, but I want to get your reaction to the Republican colleagues stripping Congressman Steve King of his committee assignments. What do you think of that?
Well, I guess I have to go with what Mia Love said in the segment just before this. Better late than never. But, you know, I've been watching Steve King for 10 years. This is not a new thing for Steve King. He's been saying this stuff forever. He was Trump before Trump was Trump. I mean, I remember the comment about how illegal, undocumented aliens, you know, all were, you know, had calves the size of cantaloupes because they've been dragging marijuana bales across the border. This has been going on a very long time. And so, I mean, I don't mean to be a cynic, and I don't want to leave the impression here that I believe that the Republican conference or that Republicans are inherently racist. But the only difference between what happened to Steve King today and 50 other episodes like this is that they just got their heads handed to them in an election in November. So again, I don't want to be cynical, and I'm glad that they finally stepped up and said we're not going to tolerate it. But what took them so long?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said heads handed to them, because I know that what usually goes with that. So I appreciate you doing that. Listen, CNN has some new reporting that Trump's lawyers rejected Mueller's request in recent weeks for an in-person interview with the president. What does that say to you, Congressman?
Well, you know, no surprise, Trump's lawyers don't want him speaking to talented legal professionals. I mean, you need to watch the guy's Twitter feed for about 2 minutes to know that he does not have a particular appreciation of the difference between truth and falsehood. So if I were the president's lawyers, I'd be doing everything I could to prevent him from being interviewed by anybody, much less somebody who is a professional. But, you know, this could get interesting, right? Because you know, there is some chance that if Mueller feels that he needs to, he may subpoena the president. And we could expect to see a resistance from this president that we didn't see from Bill Clinton and from others who have sort of bumped up against this question in the past.
Why do you think President Trump took such extraordinary lengths to conceal what he discussed with Vladimir Putin, like, you know, getting rid of the notes, or who knows what they did with him, telling interpreter don't discuss with the administration? Why did he go through such lengths?
Well, the only, you know, you sort of start with the preposition that the only reason you do that is because you don't want other people to know what was said. Okay, then the question is, why don't you want other people to know? And, you know, Don, this is the, you know, 900th question on top of the 899th question of why are all of his people lying about the contacts that they had with Russia? Why is the president, every time he gets around Vladimir Putin, most notably last year, saying exactly what Vladimir Putin would have him say? You know, I get asked all the time, is there evidence of collusion? When is this investigation going to wrap up? I don't know the answer to that question. But there are just hundreds of puzzling questions that we need to get to the bottom of in this case.
Listen, you're on the Intelligence Committee. Do you think your committee should subpoena that interpreter?
Well, yes, I do. Now, I know exactly how that plays out. And of course, Chairman Schiff, when this first came up, when the Reykjavik summit so famously landed like a lead balloon, I know that Adam Schiff at that point wanted to subpoena the interpreter, but the Republicans who were in control at the time said no. But look, I know how this plays out. We can subpoena that interpreter, but the White House is going to claim executive privilege. That's what they did with pretty much all of the White House witnesses that we called into our investigation. So now we're in a world of litigation and contempt proceedings and working on what exactly executive privilege comprises, and it's going to be a while.
Listen, I know this is a tough question, but if you can do it for me quickly, because I want you to weigh in on the President of the United States saying publicly today that he has never worked for Russia. The New York Times report came out on Friday. Why do you think it took him until Monday to just flat out say no?
Well, another good question. We'll make that question good question number 901. Look, I can't put myself in the head of this president. I imagine that when he thinks, am I working for Vladimir Putin? He's thinking, am I drawing a paycheck? You know, do I get a list of instructions every single morning from Vladimir Putin on what I'm supposed to say? And it's quite possible that the answer to that question is no. But, you know, is the president working to change the Republican Party platform. Is the president, and again, I want to be very clear, I don't know the answers to these questions, but as you probably know, the Treasury Department is about to delist a couple of companies that are owned by Oleg Deripaska, very, very close to Putin. When all of this stuff happens, is that stuff happening because the president feels like he needs to be on Vladimir Putin's good side? And if he feels that way, why is that? That's the question, and that, of course, is why Mueller needs to not only finish his work, but all of what Mueller turns up needs to be available for scrutiny by the American public.
Congressman, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
The latest racist comments from Congressman Steve King, well, they weren't his first. So why all the outrage from the GOP now?
Ordering takeout.
Finding the best route.
Talking for hours.
Planning for showers.
Checking the news.
Buying new shoes.
Burning some fat.
Sharing the latest viral cat.
Catching that replay.
Text night and day.
Do all the things you like to do with a wireless plan designed for you. Talk, text, and data for only $25 a month. Nationwide coverage, no contracts. Consumer Cellular, ranked #1 by J.D. Power. Call, go online, or visit any Target.
Whatever weather comes your way, WeatherTech has you covered. With our laser-measured cargo liners, no-drill mud flaps, and floor liners. Order yours today at WeatherTech.com. You never know when it's going to be a WeatherTech day.
Perfect weather today.
Shopping for our home on Wayfair is so easy. They should make a jingle. Wayfair, you make home shopping easy.
Wait, that sounds familiar.
These new tools make my shopping a breeze. I can plan my room while I'm falling asleep.
How about Wayfair, you got just what I need?
No, it's not good.
Sounds pretty good.
Discover easier home shopping at Wayfair, where it's find and unwind. Wayfair, you've got just what I need.
Home sweet home. Your sanctuary. You know you need to protect it with home security. But traditional alarm companies have made things so complicated, you just keep putting it on the bottom of your list. SimpliSafe is changing that, with an arsenal of sensors and cameras designed to blanket you with protection, ready to set up right out of the box. So put home security back on the top of your list with SimpliSafe. Visit simplisafe.com for a limited time offer.
We really love the holidays at Graham Grahams, but it's tough to
Relax.
The Dish guy heard us. Said with the Dish Anywhere app, we could bring the comfort of our home TV along with us. Live TV, on demand, even our DVR shows.
Feel good shows.
That put us right at ease. Mostly.
So many eyes.
Take live TV, on demand, and your home DVR anywhere. Dish, tuned into you.
In an era of online retail where everything is just a few clicks away, buying a car should be no different. That's why at Carvana, you can buy a car 100% online. We made it easy to browse, view, and buy from over 10,000 cars. You can even trade in your old car, all while binge watching your favorite TV show. Afterwards, we'll deliver your car to you. Or you can pick it up from one of our car vending machines. Either way, your car comes with a 7-day return policy. So grab a seat, relax in your comfy pants, and enjoy the new way to buy a car at Carvana.
The House voting to remove Republican Congressman Steve King from his committee assignments. That's after his comments to the New York Times, questioning why phrases such as white supremacy and white nationalism are considered racist. I want to bring in now Adam Serwer, Anna Navarro, and Alice Stewart. Good evening to all of you. Alice, you spoke with Steve King, am I correct?
I just got off the phone.
Did you just hang up with him? So what did he say?
He said, look, this was in his mind, and he will continue to fight this. This was a statement that he says was taken out of context. And he says this was an interview with a reporter where he was asking the question, since when did Western civilization become an offensive term? And he said he wasn't referring to white nationalism or any other derogatory term. He says it was taken out of context. And now, given the fallout from this, he says that in his mind, he views this as the GOP realizes they were going to be fed to the alligators and hoping that they would be eaten last. And he's going to continue to fight this. I've known Steve King for many, many years and traveled countless days on the road in Iowa, and he is a good man. But if he said these things, this is a bridge too far. And this is something that I do support the Republican Party for taking this stand. But he will continue to defend himself. He told me, he said, Alice, there's nothing in my head and my heart that is racist. And he says that this is something that he will continue to fight on. And so this is a matter in his mind of his word against this reporter, and he will continue to hold his ground on this.
Okay, let me read the comments. White nationalists, white supremacists, Western civilization. How did that language become offensive? Mr. King said. Why did I sit in classes teaching me about the merits of our history and our civilization? Anna Navarro, you heard what Alice just said. She spoke to him. He says he's going to fight it. He was talking about Western civilization, and there is not a racist bone in his body.
Really? Then he's been playing one on TV and on the floor of the Congress for years and years, for his entire career. Look, the reason you cannot believe Steve King when he says that he was taken out of context is because then you would have to believe that his entire life has been taken out of context. Maybe if this was a statement made in a vacuum, a one-off, something that happened once, but this is just one more. This is the straw that broke the camel's back, but it's one more racist, divisive, supremacist, bigoted statement by Steve King, the man who has compared immigrants to dirt, to dogs, said that DACA Dreamer students have calves the size of cantaloupes where they are bringing in drugs, has proposed an electrified fence at the border. I mean, you know, it's been one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. And I would say, look, for Republicans, it's taken too damn long. It's been way too many times. Let's not play stupid here. Okay. That being said, I am glad that people like Joni Ernst, the senator from Iowa, from his state, has taken a stand. I am grateful and thankful for the voice of Tim Scott, the one African-American senator, Republican in the Senate,
even Mitch McConnell,
who spoke up. And he said, Tim Scott said, you know why people call the Republican Party racist and why we have to deal with this? Because for far too long we remain silent in the face of
Anna,
racist comments.
I'm up against the clock here, and I want to get Adam in. So listen, even Mitch McConnell said if he doesn't understand why white supremacy is offensive, he should find another line of work. What do you make of what Alice said, his response, and what has happened with Republicans now rebuking him?
Well, you know, as Anna pointed out, Steve King has been saying these things for a long time. You know, he said we can't rebuild, quote unquote, our civilization with, quote unquote, other people's babies. He endorsed a white nationalist, anti-Semitic person for mayor of Toronto. I mean, the record is so long. And what's really extraordinary is that in all these condemnations that you've read from National Review, from Tim Scott, there's been no acknowledgement that the president shares a lot of these views with Steve King. And you don't have to take my word for that. It was Trump in 2014 who went to Iowa and said, you know, Steve has all the right stances on the issues, and we think the same about everything, so we don't even need to compare notes. And the elephant in the room is really that there's almost nothing that Steve King has said or that he believes that the president doesn't also believe. So why is Steve King, and to be clear, I want to say that I think it's good that Republicans are finally doing something about this, but I don't know how you can believe that Steve King is the beginning and the end of the problem here.
You can also read Adam's piece in The Atlantic as well. Listen, we thank you for the breaking news, Alice. Thank you for Alice just hung up, and we're out of time. But thank you so much. We'll continue this conversation. I appreciate it. Meanwhile, hanging over the president's head, Russia, with bombshell stories dropping seemingly every day. It can be difficult to track them all. Make sure you stay with us because we're going to dig into everything that we have learned so far.
Hiring? It's a big deal. Finding the right candidates can take up lots of your time and energy. But not on Indeed. Millions of great people are using Indeed every single day. People with every possible combination of skill and experience. And with filters to help you find them faster, whatever type of candidates you're looking for, you'll find them on Indeed. Accelerate your hiring even more with a $50 credit to start your first job post with premium placement on Indeed.
We use Angie's List because we can always find great local pros.
For any type of home project.
I use Angie's List because it's free.
Free to read reviews.
Check their ratings. They can even match my project to qualified pros.
Go to angieslist.com today.
Before we get down to slinging, we like to set the mood.
Dim the lights, put on some musk, light a candle.
And take a circ saw to our old equipment.
And let's leave the shades open so the neighbors can see right in.
Let them watch.
Sling TV is the live TV you love with no long-term contracts. Stop paying too much for TV. Watch 7 days free at slingtv.com.
We're in a small room.
What?
Welcome.
A bigger room? How many of you use car insurance?
Oh.
Well,